In today's homework video, we are going to be talking about all things electronic collar or e-collar. This piece of equipment oftentimes has the most stigma associated with it because you either have owners that are scared to use it because they think they're going to be hurting their dog, or we have owners that have already purchased one and tried to use some form of e-collar training with their dog themselves, and usually it's just done in an incorrect fashion, not ideal, and definitely not the way that we use it here at Ivy League Canine. So to clarify a few things, if we don't teach you the why behind it, it's going to be hard for us to get you to buy in to use it. But I want to start by saying that I think that when used correctly, the electronic collar is the least invasive communication tool that you can use with your dog. And it's the most versatile piece of communication equipment that you can use with your dog. It is less invasive than a collar, a leash, a halter around the face, harnesses pulling. When we use the e-collar correctly, again, it opens up doors to be able to communicate with our dog in any emotional state and in any environment. The first example that I like to use for e-collar and why it's so important is because our dog has a wide range of emotions. Most of our dogs can go from passed out sleeping to barking and charging at the door and in a very aroused state within a matter of seconds. Because we're dealing with such a spectrum of emotions, and oftentimes these emotions are affected by things outside of our control, like triggers, we need to have a piece of equipment that can rise and fall with our dog's mental state. If we take our dog outside the home and they're on a harness or a collar for a walk, and we run into triggers such as people, dogs, other animals, etc., things that make our dog aroused and not focus on us, we are limited to physical force and corrections to be able to get our dog to focus back on us, get their attention back on us, and communicate to them. That often turns into a very frustrating game for us as the owner because our dog is stronger than us. Those tools that we're trying to use aren't made to inflict pain, so even if we tug on them as hard as we can, it just makes our dog pull even harder, and they don't care. But when we use something like the e-collar, we can match their intensity level, their emotional level, a little bit easier. So I want you to picture yourself sitting in a quiet living room, next to somebody else, and if they were to turn to you in that calm setting where there's nothing going on, and they were to tap you lightly on the shoulder, they could use the most minimal tap, and you would feel the sensation and you would look over at them because there's nothing going on. We are at our baseline, and so that makes us very sensitive to that physical touch. But now, think of something that you greatly fear or makes you a little bit insecure. Oftentimes we have like snakes, spiders, and heights are my go-to ones. So more likely than not, one of those things affects you. And so I always say, if you're sitting on the couch in that first analogy, you feel the slightest touch, but now let's put you back on that same couch and the wall is crawling with tarantulas and spiders, the floor is slithering with snakes, or your toes are at the edge of like the Empire State Building and you're looking down, thousands of feet below you. That is going to put you in a different emotional state to where you are now not going to feel that slight touch. If I reach over to you and tap you with that same sensation that I did previously, that you did feel, you will no longer feel that because your skin is crawling, your cortisol is pumping, your adrenaline is flowing through your veins, and you're hyper fixated on whatever is making you insecure, nervous. And the same thing goes for overexcitement. If you got Super Bowl tickets and you're at the 50-yard line on the field, if you're a sports fan, or if you're at your favorite band's rock concert, or if you're meeting a celebrity, or whatever the case is, whatever makes you very excited, you're not going to feel that same slight touching sensation. You're going to be a lot more insensitive to it. You're going to be so distracted by other emotions that it's not going to cut through to you. So that's where having a tool that we can go from, hey, the normal tapping sensation of, let's say, level 5 around the house can now escalate to a lot higher sensation like a level 15 or 20 out around triggers. And your dog will have its own specific range of stimulation that your trainer will teach you how to use and how to identify if you're at the right level. But this system has 100 individual levels, so I can go from the lightest tap to a poke, to a grab and shake, to a double shouldered shake, to a kind of, hey, look this way. And depending on your dog's behavioral issues, drive, instincts, physical size will determine what that range is like. And none of those examples that I just did to myself are hurting me in any way. It's just attention gainers. But there is a huge difference from this to a, hey, look at me, focus on me, let's leave that trigger alone in this example. So now let's talk about e-collar utilization and the way forward. Every dog is going to be different, so I know you're going to ask the question, when can I stop using the e-collar? When can I stop getting away from it? And I want you to know up front that this is my dog's e-collar right here. I still use it on him almost on a daily basis. How many times I give him stimulation really depends on what we're doing, but most of the time it's no stimulation. He just has this on just in case. I want you to think about seatbelts. We don't just put them on when we think we're about to get T-boned at an intersection. We put them on every time we leave and drive somewhere, so that way we're always protected, because you never know when an accident's going to happen. So we're always wearing our seatbelt. And it's kind of the same thing with the e-collar. But your dogs will all be on different paths depending on the issues you have, how consistent you are after training, the reactivity levels, what emotions are we trying to counter condition. So as far as e-collar utilization, it never completely goes away. And I will tell you that the quickest way to getting away from relying on this is to use it every day, consistently. And there's 4 steps in this progression that we're going to teach you with the e-collar. So the first is, we're going to apply stimulation to all of our commands from the moment we say the verbal cue to the moment your dog completes the task. So from the moment I say sit until their butt hits the ground. And then we're going to rep that out again. Could be a week, could be a month, could be a year. But once we start getting proficient with that process, then it's going to be from verbal cue until commitment from our dog. So once I say sit, I apply stim. Once my dog starts putting their butt down towards the ground, we can cut it off because he's committing to the movement and the obedience command. Again, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year passes. Now we can advance to the next step where I give a tap of stimulation at the verbal cue. So I will say sit with a tap, and then the stimulation goes away, and it's enough to get my dog to feel and understand that I need to put my butt on the ground with no stimulation. And they're doing that very consistently, first time, every time. 1 week, 1 month, 1 year passes. Now I can use the e-collar as more of an adversive for, if I say sit and you don't listen to me, I can pair it with just my no, sit, and use it for them not listening to me and getting my dog to achieve that desired obedience position. Every dog will be different as far as how we recommend using the e-collar, for how long we recommend using it, and everything else. But I want you to remember that this is not an adversive tool, and we can condition this low-level stimulation to be nothing more than an invisible leash or extra help for our verbal commands to achieve whatever we're asking our dog to do. You guys need to remember that some of you are starting off in a very clean slate with new puppies that don't have a lot of emotional connection to the way things were before training. Some of you are coming here after years of a conditioned lifestyle to where our dog has gotten used to ignoring our commands, listening only when they want to, when there are no triggers present. And this e-collar is going to help us kind of pave over what we had previously with our dog and rebuild a better relationship to where it's more complementary of a lifestyle. Another great benefit for using the e-collar is when we have different individuals in our family, in our house, in our life that have different ages, physical stature, physical capabilities, different voice tones naturally. We're going to need to rely on the e-collar a lot more to make things very consistent for everyone, so that way we're not relying on deeper voices, more physical corrections, larger physical stature in order to get the dog to understand that we need to be seen as a leader and taken seriously. This e-collar will help us take the emotion out of things, get less frustrated, and speak to our dog in a clear, calm manner consistently while we still get results. And then again, if we need to increase the level based on our dog's mental state, now we can do so with a little turn of a knob versus having to yank harder, scream louder, get more frustrated, because those may have been tools that you've tried to use in the past, but we want you to get away from doing that and be more at an emotional baseline consistently throughout communicating with your dog. So hopefully now this makes a lot more sense to you. Throughout these videos, you're going to hear our sound box that gets paired with our e-collar to help you understand when we are applying stimulation to your dog. You're going to get hands-on, feeling the stimulation at your training check-in, as well as using it with your dog and your trainer. So by the end of this program, you should be feeling very confident with the equipment, especially this e-collar, because again, it is the best tool out there for consistent canine communication.